Welcome, Smutters, to the Sibsreadsmut podcast. I'm Ned.
Christ, again, I'm
You need
Helen.
to rewrite this, or you need to write it for me.
I'm
I'm
not going
Helen.
to change it every time.
Every time. I'm just reading, and it says it wrong. Strap in, strap up, and strap on. I hate you. Because now it's smut time. For those just tuning in, this is a podcast where we read, rate, review, and tell jokes while discussing our favorite romance books. If you're liking our bullshit, go on and smash that like, rate, or subscribe button. Every little bit helps, and I need to scroll to the right to read the rest. And if you have book suggestions and or questions, reach out to us on the socials, Sibsreadsmut on Insta and TikTok, or email us at sibsreadsmut@gmail.com. Very formal only.
You're like Ron Burgundy. You read everything that's put on screen in front of you.
What does he read? Like a whale's vagina.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego. On today's podcast, we'll be discussing, insert title here. Just kidding. Today's podcast, we're discussing Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. We love you, Abby. You're the bomb. Spoiler alert, we do talk about this book start to finish, beginning, ends, twists. We're telling you all of it. So I feel like most people have probably read this book. This is a very popular one. If you haven't and you want to, stop now and go read it, or keep listening and we'll ruin it for you. So off we go. Ned, why don't you give us a brief summary of the book?
You got it, Smelly.
If you know how to read.
A Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez.
A part of your world.
Oh, yuck. Alexis is a fancy schmancy doctor, and Daniel is a small-town carpenter, much like Jesus, but with a bigger dick. You started reading it before I could even get the joke out.
Sorry.
Alexis crashes in Daniel's town and falls for it and him, but her big city life just won't go away. A prestigious job, a shithead, abusive, cheating ex-boyfriend, and terrible parents won't give up their hold. Daniel uses his wang and a sprinkle of town magic to get her to stay, but fails. Until she realizes it for herself, he won't be able to keep her. Spoiler alert, they bone.
In his basement.
They hurt, and they live happily ever after. The end.
They bone, they hurt. I feel like that
Podcast over.
Well, see you later. I feel like they bone, they hurt makes it sound like the sex hurts, but it doesn't. I feel like their hearts hurt. Their hearts hurt, Ned.
Sure. Well, yeah, Helen. If you want to do a little rewrite on this stuff, you're more than welcome to.
To log in more than 10 minutes before we record this podcast? Absolutely not. That is crazy. That is crazy. I'm the talent. Okay.
Don't be insane.
Don't be insane.
Cover watch, as everybody it wants to hear right off the bat. It's a perfect cartoony cover. Love it. It's
I feel like she's one of not the OG cartoony covers by any means, but she's got really good ones. I feel like hers always stand out, maybe because they're such bestsellers. They're always everywhere. But
splashed across all the Goodreads pages and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they're simple, but do tell the story a little bit. It's yeah. It's some of them don't. For as little hockey as the deal had, having them stand on the ice dressed up, hugging in a hockey rink is kind of, it's like, okay, it works. It's cute, cartoony, and everything else, but also, it's not the whole. It's not telling anything about the story really.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a hockey player, but other than that, okay. That being said, I liked it. What did you think about our new segment here of the voice actors in this? We both listened to this one both times, I think.
Great. I don't know. What are their? Do you know their names?
Yeah, Julia Whelan and Zachary Weber.
Okay.
I think both of them have a fair amount of credits on Audible when I was looking them up. And I thought they did a great job.
I liked it. Well, I always like the dual perspective just in general. So for me, it helps keep the story straight when there's two actors. I thought they were great. I thought they did it really well. And I really like there's some like hilarious scenes in this book, and I feel like they did it justice with like the cadence and the way that they read it, just to make you laugh out loud with some of the hilarious shit, like the acorns falling and like
I mean, the story kicks off with her, much like what was it, When in Rome,
yes,
with her car broken down.
Breaks down in a ditch in the middle of nowhere, and then a strange man comes to save her, and they fall in love and live.
As she's really ripping off her Spanx in the car, like she's
that was
changing.
My favorite part.
And she's just like butt cheeks up to the window as he comes up and is like, "Are you okay?" And he got an eyeful. He said it. He was like, "I don't think she realized how much I actually saw while she was in the car." But it was very funny because she was on her phone with her best friend Bree. And it was she's talking about being stuck out here and waiting for the cab and they're
or tow truck.
She's tow truck, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna get murdered out here, whatever." Mm-hmm. Their conversation's very funny. Their interaction, Alexis and Bree, is very funny. And she and Bree is great throughout as like book the two. Kind of rambunctious, best friend, and it's a great kind of kickoff to their relationship. This first scene, and and also it reminded me of The Bodyguard too, because it's the worst day of her life. She's dealing with her breakup. She's on her way back from her great aunt's funeral or something. And she's like, "This is the worst day of my life." And that's literally how the Bodyguard started as well. And sure. We both love that book as well. Mm-hmm. That was Catherine Center. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Satan's shapewear is what she calls her Spanx.
Ned, have you ever worn a pair of Spanx?
Fuck no.
But they make male Spanx. AJ's worn them.
Are they called spunks?
No, but now I've got a business idea.
Competing idea. You heard it here first.
Heard it here first, folks. TM. No, I do have male friends who have worn Spanx. So you've never worn them, Ned?
No.
Not yet?
Can't say I'm ever going to. That just sounds.
Then,
I mean, Under Armour is the closest I'm probably gonna get to Spanx.
But that gives you some like stretch, right? It's not sucking you in.
No, but it's form fitting and it's tight, but it's not holding it all together like a corset.
Did you know that they make men's shirts now that have like 6-packs? Like in the shirt, so when you wear it over your belly, it shows like you have abs, but it's just part of the t-shirt.
I was telling Mom the other day that now that I've lost some weight, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that I had abs. And it's like I have an ab now, like one big ab. I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible.
It's just like worming its way out of its like it's just cozy
just one big
for the last
ab.
10, 15 years.
Oh,
it's there.
Man.
So you've never worn Spanx, and I bring this up as a very important point to talk about how miserable Spanx are. And I honestly cannot believe that she made it from the funeral to this little town, wherever, halfway between the funeral and home, without removing the Spanx. I feel like the Spanx are the first thing to go. I have taken them off in so many bathrooms at weddings, and like just it's like you get halfway through the night, you have a few drinks, and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. They immediately come off. I've also taken them off in cars. I've also left them in Ubers, just like because they don't always fit. If you're like going out at night, they don't always fit in like your dainty purse. So sometimes you have to stuff them in like your coat pocket, and then they fall out in the Uber.
How expensive are they that you're just losing them all the time?
They're like $40. Well, that's not true. Some of them are much more expensive. Depends on what.
They're not sponsoring us, so like let's move on. Hey Spanx, if you want to sponsor us, by all means, but
listen,
no more free promo.
I would love to be sponsored by Spanx, Quince, or one of those sex toy companies that I see all over Instagram.
We've given Chipotle enough credence on here too, where they should probably send us some money.
If we are asking Chipotle to sponsor us, we also need to ask Kohler, the toilets, to sponsor us because
Chipotle way.
There is a direct correlation between the two. But
you ready for this right turn subject change? So they go to the bar and
Ned, I don't want to talk about the book anymore. Let's just talk about whatever.
So she goes to the VFW in town after Daniel gives her a ride because he's like, it's gonna take a while, or he drags her car out of the ditch, and she's like, I need to get food. She goes to the VFW hall, and it's not really suiting her fancy, and it quickly switches to Daniel's perspective, and he's there with his buddies who are like, hey, let's put a bet down to see who can get this girl, take this girl home and whatever. And in an effort to like save her from this whole situation, he goes over and chats, and their first interaction, other than him dragging her out of the ditch, is very flirty, very funny. I thought they had great chemistry on the page. I think Abby Jimenez did a great job with all of the character interactions and the banter and the back and forth,
as she always does.
Yeah, it was great. And he goes, in an effort to save you this, I'm just giving you a heads up. And she's like, well, would you win if I leave with you and get in my car and go home? And he's like, well, yeah. And so they go out together, and she just gives him the money or whatever.
He says that we'll split the money if we take it anyway. But one of his friends, what is the song? One of his friends has a guitar, and his only move with chicks in town is to get out his guitar and play "The Wind Beneath My Wings" or some really.
It's not "Wind Beneath My Wings," but it is a song, and he performs it badly. Yeah, and it's great.
And so Daniel's like, I don't want you to have to sit through this, so if you want to leave with me, we'll split the money. And then she gives him the money back. There's also a lot of things. Her wealth throughout, her status throughout the book is a key part of the story. And I noticed, I don't know if everyone would notice, but immediately she's driving a Mercedes, she's got Dior shoes or whatever, and then she doesn't need the money right off the bat, that she's so I feel like Abby does a great job of setting up she doesn't need money, and to the opposite end, Daniel and most of the people in this town are kind of struggling financially. So
yeah, well, when leaving, that whole money conversation kind of goes. She's like, just keep it or whatever, and she never did get food because she stopped because she was hungry, and he goes, well, hey, why don't you come over to mine and I'll make you a grilled cheese. 6% in, I called it grilled cheese seduction. I mean, I was like, it'd probably work on either of us. and they totally bone. And then she ghosts him the next day. And I mean, this is a situation where from first meeting to one night stand, it's 6% in. I mean, it's chapter 3 almost. Very early sleep together. And she's freaking out the next day. She ghosts him and leaves early before he wakes up. And she's freaking out because she looked in his wallet, which was kind of creepy, and found his ID. And he's 28, she's 37. And
oh my God!
I know. Oh, and she's like, as she's leaving, she steps in dog poop or something and loses her shoe and doesn't even go back for it. Steals his sweatshirt and leaves. After the best. Klepto. After the best gut smushing of her life, she was like,
oh my God.
And hickeys.
Gross.
And she has hickeys too, which is funny. In which when she gets home, her brother Derek is sitting there, her twin brother Derek. Yeah. And with this mystery NDA, you got to sign this. Mm-hmm. And it turns out he'd married a pop star, and gay Lady Gaga size, pop star.
Lola Simone.
And he's moving to Cambodia and leaving her with her parents. And we know nothing about their situation yet. We don't know anything about, her crippling need to stay with this hospital, her parents', expectations, or about her ex or anything else. And she's crushed that her brother's leaving her. As fun as their interaction was too, another great bantery kind of back and forth. She's crushed. She's hurt.
Yeah,
that he's going to move across the world, and it's like, and it's kind of a bummer.
Did
and
I
then
make you sign an NDA before my wedding?
No.
I should have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I should give a dramatic reading of my speech at your
that speech was so good.
at your rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, won the weekend with that one. Yeah, that was way better than anything else that was read. Your vows, I'm kidding. Although it was.
So you're not wrong. For my vows, at least. I worked so hard on those, and then Ben's vows were so much better, and he, I think, wrote them the night before. Oh my God, I was so pissed.
The ceremony was great, though. Trey did a great job. It was a lovely time.
It was a lovely time.
And
everyone signed NDAs.
Yeah, we meet Neil, her ex, and he's just a real taint bag. And this is another one of those situations where the writing's so good that I had just a visceral hate for this guy. We've talked about it over the last season and a little bit this season, but yeah, I hated him so much that it was like, ah.
He gets a redemption arc in this book too, because yes, you hate him, you just want him to keel over and perish, but he gets kind of a redemption arc towards the end, which is very surprising. But I feel like this is an interesting, it's an abusive relationship. She has broken up with him, but he cheated on her, I think. And so
yes.
He did, and he cheated on her, and then she broke up with him. And so but they own a house together. He's a surgeon at the same hospital where she's an ER physician. He's a surgeon, right? Or her dad.
He's the chief of surgery.
So
Neil is, yeah.
He's the most psychotic of the psychos in a hospital. Surgeons are a rare breed, and which we come to find, which is that stereotype is very much held true in this book with Neil, her abusive ex, being in surgery, and then her dad as well was the chief cardiology surgeon and head of whatever, right?
He was a surgeon. He was a chief of surgery. I think he was the chief of surgery before Neil was.
I think he was in cardiology. He was specifically a cardiology.
Yeah, maybe.
Surgeon.
Well, and Derek was also, her brother was also a doctor at this hospital too, and so he leaves the hospital to go across the world. And and she even talks about how Derek was the golden child and Alexis has always been the disappointment. I go, much like our relationship, right? I'm the golden child and you're the disappointment.
I think you're mom's golden child and I'm dad's golden child. I think if we're being honest there, we both got a golden star, but not from both parents.
Fair point.
Yes, but Derek is a surgeon. That's why he's the golden boy. It's because surgeons are much better humans than the rest.
But he's also the outgoing one. He's also the one that is the face of the hospital. Their family, Alexis's family, the Montgomerys, have been part of this Ryum hospital for 140 years. Mm-hmm. And there's always been a Montgomery working at the hospital for the entire time. So now that Derek left, Alexis was going to leave because she couldn't work with Neil anymore. And now that Derek's left, she can't leave. She has to stay at the hospital. She feels trapped. And it's, and that's a pretty crushing and inconsistent point that comes up constantly in this book.
Being trapped. She feels very stuck in her life, and so she meets this young buck from downstate, and then feels like there's obviously a draw there. They end up liking each other quite a bit, but she just feels like she can't leave her life at all.
Yeah, well, and Neil during this point while Alexis and Bree are having a dish sesh about her robbing the cradle and everything else. Yeah, and he's like, the house is community property. I want the house, and she goes, no, you're not getting it. Fuck you, pretty much. And this is the tilting line where she's like, well, now that I've stood up to Neil, I guess I can go back and get myself the booty call with this young dick. It's like, oh, and she tracks him down at the VFW about returning his hoodie. and it's an honest conversation yet playful, where he's like, yeah, I like you, come down, let's hang out again. And the forthrightness of their conversations, even when it's a difficult conversation, is pretty, I thought was unique.
To a degree. Their conversations are great, but she just wholly leaves out so much about her life. Like,
True.
I had a hard time. I was like, girl, she won't even tell him for a while that she's a doctor. Like, they're well into fuck buddying when she like goes and helps, I think, the old guy first who fell.
Popeye, yeah.
Popeye. She helps him first. She like delivers a baby. Like, she starts like, she is a physician. We know that. The reader does. Daniel does not. And so like as she starts, helping people in the town, he's like, "Are you a doctor?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." So
that was technically their second meetup. I mean,
I guess, but she kept a lot from him.
He doesn't know that he works with all of we meet. Daniel meets two of her friends. I just called them the bitchy twins.
Yes,
and he doesn't realize the ex is back living in the house, that these bitchy twins work with her.
Yeah.
That the parents, and that she's rich, and
Rich.
none of this is common knowledge to him, even though they've been dating for a while at this point. But in their second meetup, he tells her to come down, and he's riddled with like doubts about how fancy and how rich she is, about how rich he assumes she is, and she's even more rich. She's even more rich than he thinks she is, and it's crazy. Yeah. But it's like, he's like, if you're willing to come down to see me, then I'm going to put a little effort in, because we can't be fucking for 18 hours straight. So I'm going to put in a little effort, and I'm going to take you out on a date and find fun stuff to do. And I was like, that's pretty fucking swoony. I mean, he's putting effort in.
Ned, are you feeling interested in Daniel? I think you're a Daniel fan.
I'm a man crush for sure. I think he's great. But so she comes down, and he takes her to watch Princess Bride, which I love it. You love that movie.
Yes, we love that movie. But the whole thing with that is that it's at a drive-in, and he gets his friend to like open the drive-in just for him and Allie, and like it was a big deal for them to do that, and so it was like a lot of effort too.
Yeah, and so 22% in, post drive-in, dive-in. It's behind closed doors, Night of Passion, and I mean, we'll get to the Smotometer rating at the end, but this is not terribly steamy.
Wait, what was the name of the chapter?
Post drive-in, dive-in.
What is the name of the Guy Fieri show?
Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives.
Yeah, how do we make that into like sexual? Vaginas, drive-ins, and dive-ins.
That was bad.
That was bad. But that's all I'm envisioning now that you've called it that. I just like Guy Fieri there to dine in on her drive-in.
Yeah. Well, and they have a good,
there.
Yeah, but we're gonna get off that point, because you muddling through joke creation live on here is it's not what our fans come to hear, Helen.
I want to see the sausage get made. All right, this is how my brain works.
Yeah. So after their behind closed doors bang sesh, Daniel gets a call from the town, because he's also the mayor of this small town, while running an Airbnb, and which is his family home, but he can't afford to live there.
I want to set up that, because I think that was an important part of his story. So his house, it's in my mind, it's this big old Victorian with a wraparound porch, and it's really pretty.
House porn. I was going to ask you about that.
There's a lot of house porn in this book, and I loved it. So his house is an old Victorian, these pretty bedrooms, antique furniture, wraparound porch, really cool. And then there's a garage next to it that has a spiral staircase, and then upstairs is the bedroom where Daniel sleeps. So, and a little hot pot kitchen thing. So he is Airbnb-ing the house to try to earn $50,000 to essentially, his mom is is she an addict? I don't know if that was ever explicitly said, but she's super flaky.
Yeah.
Goes all over, just leaves and left him. And so he's kind of a traumatic history with her, but
Well,
she's like, well,
she was also 15 when she had him and left him with the grandparents who owned this house, who
okay,
were also the mayors of the town and everything else.
yes,
And she left him with the grandparents and moved away.
yeah,
And she only comes back when she needs money. So he has a very kind of fraught relationship with her throughout most of their childhood.
yes,
And now she wants to sell the house because she needs the money to help a boyfriend start a bike shop in Florida
drugs.
or something, and drugs.
She wants drugs.
And so he needs to get $50,000, which comes up throughout the story.
Yeah.
That to buy the house so that the mom can't sell it out from underneath him.
Yeah. And at one point, Allie goes, well, I can just give you the money. And this is like later in the story when they've like gotten to know each other. And he, again, doesn't realize that she's like, fuck you, rich. Like he's like, what do you mean? You can't just give me the money? That would be like so much.
Technically, she does loan it to him, but she was like, I'm never going to see him again after this night. So like, we'll call it a wash. But yeah. She was just going to give him the $50,000, but right after their dine-in, their drive-in, dine-in boning session.
See, it's in your brain. Something there.
Daniel gets a call about an old guy in town because he's the mayor technically, and they go over to help him, and Alexis is like, if there's an issue, I'm coming.
Yeah.
That's when Daniel finds out that she's a doctor.
She's a physician.
And he, it's hard to get good medical care out in the sticks. The way it's such good foreshadowing throughout the story of her slow realization to the final, like her final, kind of light bulb moment. It was not heavy-handed, and it was and this trickling of her kind of going, oh, these people are sewing each other up with fishing lure and gin, and it's like, to get from these early instances all the way to the ultimate solve, for the predicament, what I thought was pretty great writing. I thought it was,
enjoyed it,
good layout.
Because it kind of like, I in grad school did a project on patient transportation for medical appointments who lit like urban versus rural, and so like for me it was kind of like it was very accurate, I should say, to at least to the research that I did in grad school, and how much telehealth has helped. I think this book was written before, like, not before the internet, but like before like COVID. But I think it was before COVID, where anyway, like telehealth is just so normalized now as a resource, and so a lot of people in like the rural areas do have more access to care than they used to. But again, to have somebody there to be able to like hands-on do things she's realizing that. Anyway,
nope,
Abby
we're
Jimenez
both wrong. 2022.
2022.
Published in 2022.
Okay, well, there's no mention of telehealth in the in this novel, and how effective it can be as a rural.
Well, so she helps this Popeye guy out who fell and couldn't get up. He needs the life alert button, but in a small town like that, it's going to take an hour or 2 hours for an ambulance to get there. So they go over, help him out. And, he's taking his pills without food, and it's making him dizzy. And Popeye tells Daniel right after that, he's like, That's a good one. You should hang on to her. Do whatever else. And he tells Daniel this. There's kind of like this mysticism to the book too, where he goes, the town will get her back. Like the town knows its people, and it's going to do whatever it can to keep her around.
The town keeps who it wants, or something.
Yeah, it was kind of like this weird thing. And throughout the book, there are these instances of. The acorns falling to drive out the bitchy twins, the lightning to keep her at the house.
Take a tree down. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the ethereal blooms on the trees coming out, and all this stuff is kind of crazy, but it adds a kind of whimsical charm to this small town, which is Walk On. Walk On is the small town where he lives, and Alexis is explaining to Jessica, I don't know who the hell's Jessica.
One of the bitchy twins.
Oh, one of the bitchy twins. We finally find out what kind of abuse she was going through. This mental anguish that Neil, the ex, was.
How
putting
did
her
you
through.
feel about that?
I thought it was subtle yet something that most people would kind of scoff at, where it's actually like a real thing that can give people a complex that's like insidious. That's truly like some people
Fucked up.
some people who think of abuse as only physical would scoff at, but
This
it's
is
no,
the emotional abuse.
it really
Yeah.
it really fucked her up. He would tell her that
Yeah.
that she smelled, and which led her to like compulsively shower. He would just give her slight digs and tell her,
Her breath
you're not.
smelled right before she went in somewhere.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
verbal abuse, and she would wake up. She would wake up before he woke
right.
up to put her makeup,
makeup
on,
on.
because he would say she looks terrible in the mornings and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, I thought it was sick. I mean, it was disturbing, and the way that she kind of lays it out, and even her bitchy twins are like, really, like that's what you're concerned about, like what? And her parents, her friends, all her couple friends are trying to get her back with this dude,
With Neil.
And it's just like, what a smug piece of shit. And
Well-
Neil, she's on a run telling her friend this, and she gets back to her house, and Neil's just there with a cop and says, you know what, I'm moving back in, I own half this house. And the cop's like, sorry ma'am, I can't do anything about this. And I just my note here is, what a smug piece of shit, hate him. And it's ugh.
Yeah, he's a very big asshole. And I think, it's just people just I think too, like being a 37-year-old woman with a really powerful job, like it's not like she can go out and just date all the, like it's hard for her to meet people. And I do feel like at some point women get to a point where they're like, shit, like when do you settle? Like when do you sort of, right? You should never settle. Never settle, ladies. Never. But, I think there's a lot of pressure, like, as you get older to find a person and settle down, especially if that's a life that you want. And so I really felt for Alexis or Allie, just, like, not knowing what to do.
There's some good funny in here. We find out quickly that she's going on a girl trip with the bitchy twins, and it ends up, oh, shocker, being at Daniel's rental in the sticks. And Alexis is freaking about her worlds colliding, and she asks him not to act like he recognizes her, which I think is always shitty to do. And because she doesn't want her bitchy friends to find out that she's like doing this, and he's understandably pissed. But then the dog jumps all over her. It's like, to me, it was a little obvious, like, oh, she's been here before. But the friends are bitchy. They're like, he's hot, but he's blue collar. Like, that'll never work out. And talk behind his back and everything else.
Dirty
and
boots.
The women should like he's like, you should never bring him home. Your dad would shit and all this other kind of stuff. And she fakes a headache, and 36% in, headache, poon break me off a piece of that poontang bar. She sneaks away from her friends, and there's a lot of erection pressing and driving need, and Daniel's fixing her sex problems, and it was kind of hot. This was our first like real like legitimate steamy scene, and I was like, it's more about feelings than like the actual like in and out technique of like what's going on during the scene. And then comes, I think, one of the funniest scenes in the book, where Hunter the dog, Daniel's dog.
Oh, I love the dog.
Brings what we think is a dead squirrel into the breakfast area, and it's not dead, and it jumps up and runs under the table, and the ladies freak out and run out, and her writing of this scene was great. I mean, great description, where one of the bitchy twins army crawled across the table and got up with a piece of French toast stuck to her boob, and like they get outside and it just like plops on the ground, and then the dog runs out and eats it.
Yeah.
It was I think that's probably one of the best scenes in the book.
Oh yeah.
I love that one.
I mean, it really paints the friends as like being totally bitchy, and then
because they're going to give him 1 star for all this stuff.
This is 1 star, and it's not about him; it's about the experience. And yeah, those friends were real cunts. They were not nice people, and they're very privileged. And I think they're there as like to move the story forward and sort of like put up a mirror to her
Alexis's
own
privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And the that quickly followed up by that is the acorn assault, where they're standing under the tree and the town is literally telling these women get the fuck out by pelting them with hundreds of acorns, and there's like no, it's not even time for acorns to fall and whatever else.
The one gets like welts, like they see it on the skin.
Yeah,
like, what the hell?
Yeah, that was pretty great. And so the Bitchy twins just go off and do their own thing, and she just pretty much takes a weekend away with Daniel the whole time. Mm-hmm. And on their way out, after Daniel comps them to stay because it was not up to their.
She finds that out later.
No, I mean that's happening right. That's happening right
that's
now,
right.
and she
wood shop.
And she takes him into the wood shop and shows them his like cast off pieces of his work, his working wood stuff, and goes, "Oh, this is $3,000. This is $3,500." And the women are like, "Oh yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that." And makes him even more than the whole weekend would have cost, way more than the weekend would have cost in general. And she's teaching him to kind of be more know his value and be more assertive in propping up his business, and he is teaching her like life lessons, like, hey, this is how you reset the power in your house. This is how you open the garage door when you don't have power. Here's how you. That. Why? She had no clue how to do anything. She didn't know how to peel a potato.
Which is just fucking insane. I mean, there's like at some point. I don't know. She knows how to make coffee without power. Like, come on. And you don't know how to check the breaker. I get it. Maybe some people don't, but like,
she was a Keurig.
Just because you're rich doesn't mean that like you don't know how to.
She had servants. She had servants and everything else. She never had to do any of that stuff. I thought that was I'm not saying that was endearing, but I thought that was her showing her. Not knowing how to do that stuff was another aspect of holding the mirror up to her privilege, and I did not take as much offense to that.
I didn't like it.
Anyway, they get 55% in. They get to Lazy Morning Mamba, some light fingering. It's a pretty quick scene. 60% in. They get the porno pic exchange, which is one of my favorite scenes where they're exchanging nudes, and Doug, his friend from the VFW, is like, "Oh, she wants me to send a dick pic," and he's like, "I'm coming over. Like, I'm getting in my car."
It. Yeah. Like, wait, I know what you're doing. It's gonna be a bad angle.
You're probably standing in your bathroom with shitty lighting, and you can see your socks. And Doug shows up with their friend Liz on the phone, and it's like they're producing his dick pics.
Liz is his cousin, technically.
No, Doug is his cousin. I thought.
No.
Oh. Well. No, because Liz is from out of town. Liz, I don't think I don't think she's related.
Whoever was on the phone while he helping him with the dick pic, I believe he was related to.
Maybe.
You'll yell at me if I go look it up, so I won't.
I did not read it that way. Well, yeah, because then you're going to stare at your computer like, and not pay attention to any of my wonderful jokes.
You're just mad that I didn't laugh at your joke. Oh.
I am. Yes.
Delicate.
And at dinner with her parents, her dad's freaking out about her not getting back with Neil, which is a huge thing always. Throughout. And she comes to find out too that she's like, oh, her relationship with Neil is like a direct, like mirror to her relationship with her dad. Her dad is the exact same kind of verbally abusive that Neil has been, and
to the mom. Not to her.
And to her. He's like, oh, did you prepare enough? Oh, did you do this?
That's true.
Oh, you're gonna get back together. He's been shitty, and then the mom has supported the dad this whole time. He enabled him this whole time. The dad is more than likely doing the same thing to the mom, but he's absolutely doing it to Alexis. And they're dealing with a battered woman in Walk On, and there's a lot of like ins and outs of the small town life that Alexis is getting more ingratiated to throughout the story, which I thought it was kind of seamless. I thought it was
I loved
well
it.
told,
and
good
it felt
pacing.
Really good pacing, accurate. She delivers a baby for one of them, and it was like a high risk delivery because the cord was wrapped, and she had to do this like special technique. But it's very not convenient, but like she's an ER physician, so she sees everything. I mean, ER physicians are anyone who works in the ER, top to bottom, is a special breed, and Godspeed. So like it made her being an ER physician allowed her to sort of interact with the town in a really special way.
Yeah, and she is, and they love her too, especially after the baby.
Yeah.
She helps the baby get born. They have a surprise spaghetti dinner for her. They get her a cake.
Yeah.
They're so thankful that she was there to help out. And like every time she's going down there to meet him, which is every other week or every weekend, it's just been going on for a couple months at this point. She's like, I'm going to break up with him this time. I'm going to break up with this time, whatever. And 79% in stinky skunk sex, she's finally like going to break up with him. And Hunter, the dog, gets sprayed by a skunk, and they like wiping him down, and it's been going on a couple months at this point, and they have like I love you sex for the first time, and they're
he
like
says
boning.
I love you to her.
Yeah, and she gets
mad.
and she gets pissed, and she tries to leave. That's when the lightning strikes, and the branch comes down and blocks the driveway, and then they go back in and bone again. And their relationship. They decide to keep their relationship on like life support and not break up. And it's just this like slow dying, petering out, like, which
But so, and this is part of my frustration with her, was that she was honest with him all. She was very honest that she saw it going nowhere and that it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. But she was not honest about her job. She was not honest about Neil. She was not like, if she would have just painted the picture of her life in not Minnesota, it's in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. If she would have just like painted her life for him and said, I'm in this really hard breakup. He's living in the basement. I have a pad. Like if she would have explained that to him and then said also like, I am being, like forced, not forced, but like my family, is expecting me to apply for the chief of emergency medicine position. Like there were all of these things and then she didn't tell him because of the NDA, but like she didn't tell him about her brother and how like the family dynamic. I'm like, I understand that you're having sex, but like as you get closer to this person, if you love somebody, I feel like you need to know about their relationship with their parents or like, she kept so much from him. That
behind a huge wall for sure.
I kind of didn't believe it. I believed their relationship and that they had fun together, but for like him to fall in love with her and not know, not like 80% of her life, I had a
small
hard time
town rube. The who knows, but she didn't tell him any of this, like you were just saying, and she gets the chief of medicine job, and he comes up to surprise her and give her flowers and meets her parents, her ex, the bitchy twins. Is just onslaught of smug pieces of shit.
And he has no idea what he's walking into. Like this poor guy thought that he was going to give flowers to his like pseudo girlfriend, fuck buddy, and shows up in the snake's pit.
At least she claims him. That was the one thing where when he showed up,
it, though it was like a decision she made.
She hesitated, but she did say this is my boyfriend or whatever else. Which I was like, okay, if she didn't, and she knew in that moment if she didn't claim him, it would have been over forever. And I literally have in my notes, I'm like, he's flabbergasted. I'm like, that's the only term for what he was when he walked into that situation. Yeah. And I was like, I don't use that term lightly.
It's a big word for you. Many letters.
Lots of syllables. And he goes out to the car, and it is like Bree follows him out and goes and literally runs down all the list of like what's going on. With
what's going on with the parents. Like she explains every piece that Allie had just never told him. Like she could have just told him herself, but she didn't. And so literally,
and then he goes to the house.
Everything.
Bree fixes everything, but then he goes to the house and sees her mansion and everything else, and is like, "What?" And Daniel pleads for Alexis to keep him, and she's like, "No, I can't do it." So then we fast forward a month,
So they break up, and he leaves.
They break up, and he leaves,
and that's it. Yeah.
And then now they're just depressed as hell. And like even her father didn't even yell at her for too long about this whole thing because she's just like doesn't care. She just doesn't give a shit. Daniel's super depressed too. He's now a super successful carpenter. Like he's selling his work online for thousands of dollars. He's made the money. He's bought the house, but now he wants to leave Walk On. And the call between them, I was like, well, how shitty of Alexis to do that. And it was also heartbreaking in and of itself.
Yeah.
But, her kind of like calling him, I was like, will you still come for me if the zombie apocalypse happens? I'm like, oof. I mean, it was an emotional, it was some kind of heart-wrenching call.
And honestly, very real. Like, having probably made that call once in my life. Like, there's like, it's real. I mean, it's like a heart, you could tell that there was still a lot of feelings there, and there was like, I don't know. But never call an ex.
Yeah. Well,
girls and guys, both ways. Do not call an ex. It never.
And to your point,
creates what you want.
Well, and to your point early on, the redemption arc of Neil, it kind of comes out that he was going. She had told him to go to therapy for 4 months and lie to the dad saying we were in couples therapy, and he comes to her and is like, "Hey, listen, I know I fucked up. Like, I want us to be friends. Like, some therapy actually does work. Like, he actually
wanted to get back together. He said, would you get back together with me? And she said no. But he was like, okay, then I'd like to at least be friends. Like, but really, like, kind of was very honest. And he was like, I've learned a lot about myself. I'm very sorry. I would love to like rekindle things. And she said no.
When he's like, I know why I'm doing that now because my dad treated my mom that way, and that's how he kept her around for that long. And I saw myself repeating those patterns. And thank you for sending me to therapy. Like, that was kind of real moment for me too. And this is her glass shatter moment of realizing that her dad is her abuser and her mother is the enabler who taught her how to live like this. Yeah. And it was, and so then like the kind of cascade of grand gestures starts where, so this is a low point. I want to say we're probably 80, 85, 90% in. I mean, this last part lasts a little bit, but she goes to the board of the hospital and she's now the chief of emergency medicine. And she pitches them something. We don't know what it is yet. And then she reaches out to Daniel to come to this gala that they've been talking about the entire book. And she's blocked. Daniel's blocked her on everything because the last call was too painful. She gets a hold of Doug and tells him, hey, I need him to come, whatever else. And she finally gets a spine and tells her parents to shove it at the gala, which I thought was a great scene too.
Not until towards the end, like right before she gave this big speech, and so her parents the whole time thought she was going to give this other speech about whatever fundraising, and then she like switched it up last minute.
Yeah, so I have the list here of like what she is doing. So Alexis decides to give up the house to Neil and let him buy out her equity stake. She gives up her position as chief of emergency medicine. During her she quits during her speech and starts an initiative to start satellite clinics in underserved communities. And starting in Walk On and Cambodia, which brings her brother back into the fold, and they both get to continue keeping their names with the hospital and keeping the family lineage going. And and she gets to be in Walk On where she wants to be in the first place, and she still gets to do her fundraising and everything else. And Daniel shows up right at the end. They clash in the middle of the dance floor, and kiss in front of everybody and dance and have their moment. And then we fast forward 1 year later, and they're married. They're expecting their first child. The clinic is set up. The kind of wrap up chapter. I was like, I don't know if I really needed it, but there was some fun stuff in there. They took this massive honeymoon where Daniel had never been out of Walk On before, so the mom gave them a round the world honeymoon where he learned how to use Uber and hotel key cards and small forks and all this kind of stuff.
I felt like that made him sound a little bit like dumber than I really thought he was. Yeah. And I do think there was one of the moments that connected this ending for me and how it all came together was Allie had taught Daniel so much about starting his woodworking business and selling, he saw from her bitchy friends that like, oh, 3,500 for a chair is like not is like easy for some people. And so he stopped giving a shit towards the end and was just charging like $13,000 for a table. And so she, I think, saw him, and he told her that on that phone call that was terrible. And so then she was like, if you just stop caring, then you can charge $13,000. Like, he didn't care what happened one way or the other. So he just charged $13,000 and somebody paid it. And he was like, Jesus. So I think that then gave
She
her
taught
the
him that. Yeah. He taught her that. Yeah, for sure.
He taught her that, like, stop giving a shit. Stop caring. Like, once you don't care what other people think, you hold the power. And that's what then I think inspired her very much to, like, put this whole plan into action.
Letting go of
I really liked
perfectionism kind of theme.
Yeah.
For sure. And the healing from toxic relationships, and there's some small town versus big city like themes and stuff going on here. The wealth stuff was a big theme throughout that I thought was well done throughout this story. What kind of tropes do you think we're hitting here?
What is it? They weren't friends to lovers, but like what?
No. I mean, he falls first energy for sure.
Yeah.
Age gap romance is what our our intern
silly.
put out here.
Came up with.
Big city, small city, fish out of water, opposites attract, kind of.
It is very similar in some ways, like to the When in Rome book specifically, just with like, big town girl with a big job is like, oh, I really like being in a small town, and ends up like staying. That was cool. Yeah. This book, I think, even though it was maybe premise wise, it was different. Cinnamon roll hero. That makes me really hungry. But also it felt similar to When in Rome, but they both, I think, stand on their own very much because of the writing, because of like the really talented author behind it. And
did you have a favorite? Did you have a favorite scene, most memorable?
Oh, I loved the breakfast squirrel Harold. I think, was it Harold? No,
Hunter.
Hunter was the dog, and I just loved any scene with Hunter in it too. And then Hunter was immediately obsessed with her and would follow her around. Like, when I think he first meets her, he sticks his nose like right in her crotch and just like doesn't take it out.
Well, and like tackles her to the ground.
Yeah,
it was great. He was great.
So I love that scene, because then it was just hilarious how the room was destroyed, and then they go outside and get hit. They're such bitches and you hate them, and then they start getting pelted with all of the. So that was one of my favorites, and then the dick pic scene. I don't know if I just took your two favorites, but those were
pretty much mine. Yeah, pretty much my exact ones. Where would you put on the spice-o-meter?
Low plus, medium minus. Did I make up another term?
Yeah.
What are the options?
Tame, medium plus, spicy, spicy plus.
Tame. Honestly, tame.
Yeah.
I would let mom and dad read this book, no problem.
For sure. Yeah, there was nothing too outlandish. The sex scenes weren't terribly intricate. They were like I said earlier on, they were more emotional than they were,
anal beads.
Like, no, more so than an action movie plot of like where this goes in here, A tab into slot
descriptive.
B. Yeah, descriptive. It's more like he got me. He looked deep into my eyes, and the little sex stuff in there. But I would say it's pretty tame.
Yeah.
Do you know what we are reading next week?
I don't, but I am starting milking. What am I reading? Milking Farm.
Morning Glory Milking Farm.
Morning Glory Milking Farm. I just started it.
I just finished Sawyer book 3 in the Cash series for Jessica Peterson. I like that one. But next week we are reading Beautiful Torment by A. Zavarelli.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It is. We have it bolded on here, so I believe it's a first time read for both of us.
Whoa.
It's
Beautiful Torment. Do we have it from the library? We'll have to look it up.
I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay.
It's a read one. So good thing we're recording this early because
read one.
Yeah, you're gonna have to actually read something.
I have to look at letters. Oh God.
100%. If you're generally liking our bullshit and us laughing at our own jokes, please hit that like, rate, review, subscribe. Generally, golden shower us with praise. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week. Smutters.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Oh my God. Turn us off.